Welcome to Opposing Views, a hard, straightforward discussion of today's most pressing issues. There's no debate tonight, but let's look back in the year that was as we showcase the best and the hottest topics we tackled so far. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Rod Nepomuceno, and this is Opposing Views. We saw an emotional President Aquino during his last State of the Nation address. Observers said that this was because of too much pressure in his administration. This was a time when his very popular leadership was tainted by big controversies, such as the Priority Development Assistance Fund, or PDAF, and the Disbursement Acceleration Program, or DAP, an economic stimulus gone wrong and later declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Mita, sir, your quick thoughts, maybe in 30 seconds, on your position on this question. Should everyone be liable?
Well, does the end justify the means? I don't think so. So once the Supreme Court has already ruled that it's unconstitutional, we already know that it came from a poisonous tree, the fruit of the poisonous tree, then I think it's very imperative upon the Aquino administration to really come out and say to the Filipino people where they use the DAP funds. Now, as far as I'm concerned, wherever they spent it is already illegal.
No, I maintain that only those who misuse the funds entrusted to them should be held liable. Now, we can determine who these people are through a special audit by the Commission.
I think Pinoy and Abad misinterpreted yung administrative code. Because as far as I'm concerned, he can only suspend projects within that agency.
Right.
Pero hindi mo pwedeng ililipat yung pondo ng ahensyang to, ililipat mo at ibibigay mo siguro for political purposes. Kasi alam naman po natin na portion of that DAP o yung tinasabi natin yung forced savings ni Butch Abad, ginamit pa niya for political purposes.
Alright.
Ano naman ang benefit po sa taong bayan? Paano ba magiging economic, how can you develop economic growth sa bansa kung ginamit mo yung pondo to allegedly impeach C.J. Corona as alleged by when Senator Jinggoy Estrada did his speech, dun lumabas yung DAP issue na yan.
Of course, that's a very malicious statement. I'm not referring only to Ms. Mitos, but to all those who are trying to pound on that particular issue. The whole country saw the impeachment trial. The former Chief Justice Renato Corona was guilty as sin, okay? And everybody saw that. So if anybody who's claiming that he was bribed, then probably he's the only one who was bribed. So I don't see any argument there.
How can the DAP stimulate the economy? Because I'm sure naman if Butch Abad implemented all those projects that we approved of in 2011 and 2012, I'm sure it would have spurred economic growth also. You cannot just justify Pinoy changing or putting the money elsewhere. The point is, he was even cited I mean, the Supreme Court cited the unprogrammed funds, that they have a wrong interpretation of unprogrammed funds.
Do you think the DAP, in and by itself, just the principle of it, has helped fast-track a lot of projects?
Yes.
And thus spur the economy.
Yes,
but I don't know
and
how.
even the Supreme Court agreed to that. It's in the ruling.
But then, you know, Senator, it's in the Constitution, three separate bodies. It's the legislative branch who crafts laws, amend laws, repeals laws. It's the judiciary who interprets the law. And it's the executive branch who implements the law. Papayag ka ba? Pareho tayong legislator dito. Papayag ka ba na i-usurp ng executive branch yung power ng Congress over the purse? Will you allow an institution like the executive branch do and supersede yung mga ginagawa na tayo lang ang pinapayagan ng saligang batas na gumawa nun?
Yes, I agree. In hindsight, yes. We're in agreement that it shouldn't be done anymore. But we're talking about that particular...
You're talking about in the past, it could have been interpreted either way. It could have been interpreted either way.
Then, Senator Trillanes, if you're talking about the past, kung papatawarin natin yung mga gumawa ng DAP, mga authors ng DAP, patawarin na rin po natin lahat ng gumawa ng kasalanan na nililitis nyo ngayon dyan. Yung mga kasamahan mo...
There's a big difference because, you know, I'm asking earlier, ano yung nagnakaw ba si Presidente Aquino and si Secretary Butch Abad? Wala, even the harshest critics. Again, tatanungin mo sila, hindi.
Pero Senator...
Yun naman pala eh. Then we're talking about processes dito.
No, Senator
so,
Trillanes,
hindi yan, that's a totally different thing.
Bakit
Iba yung nagmandarambong at iba yung nagkamali sa proseso. Pero hindi binigay pa rin naman niya sa tao.
Senator Trillanes, bakit ang batsihan ba ng good governance yung nagnakaw ka? Good governance is how you lead the nation and following the Constitution, following the law.
Judge Dolly, your thoughts on that? Do you think that the DOJ has gone as fast as it could under these circumstances?
I think given the magnitude of the cases that have been going on for accordingly 2 years, from 2007 to 2009, and the number of people who have contributed to the scandal and may have benefited from the scandal, I think the pace being undertaken by the Department of Justice Secretary is just
about right.
Right. Given the magnitude
and, you speak, of course,
the evidence that have to be collected, I think it is better to go slow but surely.
I think we're talking of 2007 to 2009. But there are also cases which have been raised, cases involving the period of this administration already, 2010 up to 2012, 2013, when the pork barrel scam exploded. So the impatience over the slowness is really an impatience over the fact that the pork barrel scam continued up to the present administration. Okay, so I know that justice grinds exceedingly slow in this country. But given the magnitude of this issue, the outrage that people felt about, money in the bathtub, the Beverly Hills lifestyle, and then until now, no hard and fast cases have been filed against Janet Napoles, against the 3 senators, as well as those involved. There is a sense of, it hasn't maximized all the resources in its hand because actually the slower you handle the 2007, 2009 cases, then the possibility of looking into the cases under this present administration will be nil.
Well, I can understand that because obviously this exploded sometime middle of last year.
Yes.
And we're now in the middle of this year. It's already May, no? And there's not been even a resolution on the part of the Ombudsman. Judge, you think, is the government transparent enough?
Given my experience and my being up to date in following through these cases, media, tri-media, whatever, even from people who are in the know about what is going on behind the scene, I would still say that there is transparency. There's so much transparency that at times it becomes an obstacle.
I find it surprising that you feel that transparency or too much transparency can become an obstacle in achieving justice. How is that possible?
So we'll weigh in tonight. President Aquino's 5th State of the Nation address. Pass or fail?
Absolutely a pass. I felt it was his strongest speech yet, with a lot of meat to it, and also a lot of, how would you say, more, not emotional, but
At least
a lot more
touches,
feeling,
a lot more feeling,
and I think it touched a lot of heart.
Well, if you're asking whether it's pass or fail, then I would have to say resounding failure.
Okay.
It was not the real state of the nation. Some of the data were misleading and they were incorrect. And of course, based on experience, we can already predict that he would be saying almost the same thing about his accomplishments. But the real SONA, the real state of the nation would be outside of Congress. And there you have the people saying that economically, their lives have not changed for the better at all.
The president pointed out that there were programs set in place that helped a lot of people get into a better stage in life. For example, TESDA. TESDA was not an Aquino program. It didn't start with him. But what they did, once they cleaned up the corruption in there, they made sure that the alternative learning system of the DepEd or TESDA, these education programs are there for people to improve their lives. You see, education brings you out of poverty. Speaking of poverty, I think the expanded CCT is a success. From over 700,000 families during the GMA administration, there are now 4 million plus families who are receiving aid.
With regard to conditional cash transfer, what are the conditions? The family must be, the father must be unemployed. There must be children who have to be supported.
Because we're targeting
and also
the poorest of the poor.
That the amount that they get is not even sufficient for the whole month. We are going to give money to the poorest of the poor. What about the poor? And yet, our studies now show that there are a lot of anomalies going on with regard to conditional cash transfer.
With the roadmap that Pinoy has drawn, do we see progress beyond 2016? And this is probably my final question because we're running out of time.
I have to have faith. I have to have faith, Rod, that these good things that are happening to us will become institutionalized. That, remember in the last part he said he trusts that even if he will no longer be around, that there will be people who have the sincere belief that these things will happen and they can keep this legacy growing.
The reforms still have to be there. We are looking for the roadmap. Maybe the roadmap is on paper, but in terms of implementation, that we have to see. So Leah is right that we should choose the right people. We should be very careful with regard how we vote for the officials who will manage our nation. And so governance should be taught to our people also. We have to learn from our past mistakes. And if we have a system that is, if I may say, in the dialect, bulok talaga ang sistema, then we need some dramatic, radical change. And this change will have to come from the people. And we have to examine also how the systems are working. And maybe it's high time that we take a good look at how we have been running our government. And as partyless representatives, we have to speak out for the marginalized because it's our duty. And so if ever we do these things, it is because that is what our constituents are telling us what to do, and the voices must be heard also in and out of Congress, because that is how the democracy works.
We'll take a short break. Meanwhile, join the discussion online. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/opposingviews on 9TV, or follow us also on Twitter at opposing_views. Use the hashtag OV2014. Welcome back. You're still watching Opposing Views. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. And here at Opposing Views, we dissect controversial bills and measures introduced by lawmakers and even the palace. We tackled the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, for instance, which allows increased pivotal presence of American troops in our soil. We also scrutinized the Reproductive Health Law, which critics dubbed as immoral, and the Freedom of Information Bill that is supposed to shed light in the darkest corners of political governance. Does the Philippines need a reproductive health law?
Naniniwala kami hindi makakabuti ito, makakasama. At hindi makapagbibigay ng mas magandang ekonomiya, at hindi makakapagbigay ng mas magandang buhay, sisira lamang sa ating sariling pananaw ng tungkol sa buhay.
We have fought for very long for this bill. It's been through all the arguments. We have won the public debate. We have won the debate in legislature. We believe this is a bill that saves lives, women's lives, their children's lives, because they need their mothers to be alive, the lives of other people who have who are sexually active, and we believe it is a moral bill.
Kung nanganganib sila pagkukulang ng gobyerno yun, hindi masusolve yun ng RH law. At yung mga sanggol, dumadami daw ang mortality, hindi rin masusolve yun ng RH law. We need better facilities, better health centers, better hospitals, better health care.
First, that all the latest SWS survey and many surveys before that show consistent and conscious support of not just RH, but the law itself in terms of providing the health of
hindi naman daw
women.
pinipilit naman talaga yung
Palagi
paggamit
din
ng
sinasabi na the condom will solve the economic
Now, let me
condition and the
interject.
health
That's
problems.
not what we
let
said.
me clear it. The condoms will never solve the problems of the woman. As far as health is concerned, HIV is spread out faster where the condoms are propagated. That's proven by records in Thailand and all the other countries.
Whatever this is, okay, let's respect that some scientific opinions are different. This debate has happened for 12 years. The Congress has listened to this. For whatever reason, I'm sure there are people who are corrupt, but you should have listened to what people said. In the end, it was one of the few bills that crossed party lines, that ended up in votes that some were conscious, some were... That's the real politics. But this bill has been debated for 12 years. The debates are over. The debates are over because they passed that bill.
That's one of the bills where 10 million pesos were passed around.
No, do you think that it's adequate? The existing?
No, kailangan mag-improve. Yun ang andun ang solusyon. Government must improve its health services. Dapat yan, tulungan ng gobyerno, bigyan ng mas maayos na panganakan, bigyan ng mas ligtas na mga equipment at better trained.
As from what I know, the RH law addresses maternal
we don't need the RH law for that.
All right, okay.
That should be the responsibility of government today, yesterday, and tomorrow.
Yes, as Congressman Atienza would say, improve emergency obstetric care at the grassroots level, and also comprehensive at a higher level. Yes, access to skilled and well-trained birth attendant, but the third pillar that is proven by studies, which is necessary and you cannot drop, is the provision of contraceptives to women who need them. That's the scientific data.
That's where we disagree. See? Sa kanila, contraception is a must. Sa amin naman, ang feeling namin, hindi dapat ganon. Dahil huwag niyo ipilit yung inyong pag-iisip sa nakararaming
Hindi ho
Pilipino.
pag-iisip ko to. This is scientific data. And let me go to morality. No?
Yes.
I am of the belief that science is not opposed to morality. It's not opposed to spirituality and religion.
We ask, is the Philippine-U.S. agreement on enhanced defense cooperation necessary?
Any country or any group that has shared interest must group together to be able to really protect their interest. Because if they do work together, you're able to really conserve more resources. Because I think any group that has shared interest.
I think this agreement will place the Philippines at a gross disadvantage once again. And it's really hard to believe that the Philippines and the United States actually share common interests, considering one is a superpower and the Philippines is trying to, assert itself and its sovereignty in the region. So we have to ask ourselves, why are we rushing this? Why is the Aquino administration bent on having it signed next week when nobody else except the government has seen the text of this agreement?
The balancing or the rebalancing of U.S. forces here in Asia, do you think it's a threat to the stability of the region?
Well, it will pose a long-term threat to the stability of the region. This whole rebalancing thing is intended to project the power of the United States, to assert the United States as a Pacific power. Ang problema dyan, we might be caught in between two superpowers, no, nagbabanggaan sila.
I don't agree with it because I think when it comes to rebalancing, I think the U.S. is only protecting its own interest. I think if you think in terms of demographics, the growth of the world population will grow from 7 billion to 9.1 billion by 2050. And most of that population is going to be in Asia. So when it comes to business, this is a place where the growth is going to be.
Do you think, and now with the threat in China, do you think that this increases our national security, this agreement?
Let's go into the question of will this modernize the armed forces?
Yeah.
Because it's always being told to us that we have the U.S. forces here, and it will lead to modernization of the armed forces. It will lead to the development of a credible external defense. Now, we've had U.S. bases for 40, nearly 50 years, and that did not modernize our AFP. We've had the VFA since 1999, so it's around 15 years of the VFA. That has not modernized the AFP. What we've been getting so far are second-hand equipment. We have 2 boats from the United States. We acquired those boats at a cost, and those boats came from the 1967 Vietnam War era. And the cost of maintenance of these boats is even greater than the acquisition cost. So we're getting hand-me-downs, and this is not going to help modernize our AFP so long as we're getting all this junk from the United States.
I think they will hesitate to do that, because if they do that, then of course there will be immediate
they still know the U.S. is a military power.
Yeah, not only that, I think the agreement that we will have with the U.S. will, of course, inform our friends and our foe that we have some alliances, and that we should not just be pushed around.
That's kind of a false sense of security, and it's somehow a bit childish to say na, oy, huwag niyo kaming gagalawin, meron kaming dito, may rest ba kami, no? Malaki. The problem with that is the U.S. is not mandated to retaliate automatically against China or any other foreign power, even under the Mutual Defense Treaty. If you read the treaty back and forth, there's no automatic retaliation provision.
On that question, is the current FOI bill pending in Congress weak?
Yes, because one, it has too many broad formulations of exceptions, and 2, it has no teeth.
Well, I don't think it's weak. No, first of all, it has not been tested. We'd always say that we'd try to come out with the best FOI bill that we could legislate. As a matter of fact, if you look at the bill right now, its template came from the 14th and 15th Congress, and maybe the reason why some people are criticizing it, it all depends really on what are the exceptions they feel should be removed and not. But in my case, it's a step forward.
Remember the investigation of the NBNZT scandal, right?
Okay.
Where then Secretary Romulo Neri was asked, were you given a bribe? He said, yes, I was offered. So did you tell the president? And he said, yes. So can you tell us what was the reaction of the president? He said, oh, that's executive.
You think that this consolidated version, that I think there are 24 versions, you think it's so far off from your original version?
No. As a matter of fact, there's no intellectual property rights in Congress, right? You know that.
Yes.
If you look at the 24 versions, the only difference is the number, the House bill number, and the author. Basically everything.
Yes, I've seen those bills. No? They're usually copied. Talaga,
yes,
no?
and only maybe for some few provisions, let's say, for example, the one that came from Antonino Nandez, saying that with regard to certain privacy issues of government officials, maybe that has to be revisited. And that came into a discussion with the stakeholders and with the champions, the members of the House who are pushing for the bill.
The presumption now is for the government to provide the access to information, requested.
Yes.
Okay. So whereas before it was more of the exception, meaning you have to. In other words, it was the discretion was in the part of the government.
Yeah. No. The presumption is that is for the release of the information. Government now has to prove that why should it not?
It should not. All right. Benji, your thoughts on that? Do you think that that's the case, or do you think some government officials will take advantage of the other presumption which is the presumption of regularity in claiming good faith?
Yeah, because that's my problem. Who defines good faith? Who determines whether the person acted in good faith?
We feel that the FOI bill, as it is a step forward, no? And this is what the people have been waiting for quite some time. It would help our countrymen seek the information they need in order to come up with the proper decisions in their lives.
Our position is that there should be presumption of maximum disclosure, and any limitation should be clearly and narrowly defined. So with that, we feel that a lot of the exceptions here they're too many and they're too broadly defined. And that's why we feel that this could even be used to restrict information rather than facilitate the access to information.
We'll take a short break. Keep tweeting and posting comments on our social media pages. When we come back, our transportation issues. You're watching Opposing Views. Welcome back. You're still watching Opposing Views. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. Heavy traffic in Metro Manila has become the new normal, and it's costing us too much. The truck ban by the City of Manila had caused more road congestion and losses in business profit. It was lifted eventually. Our mass train system is not free from problems either. Serious discussions sparked after a train overshot the railway, opening up a possibility for a train shutdown. Is the government to blame for the people's growing dissatisfaction with the metro rail transit?
Yung pagsasabi na itong problema na to ay nakakagalit sa commuters, malaking pasakit, baka understatement na yan. Isang malaking trahedya na po yung ating train system at public transportation, yung mass transportation. Kaya, at syempre, kailangan may managot. No? Ang panawagan namin, kailangan may accountability. Ang problema, mukhang ang inuuna yung 2016 election sa term extension ng DOTC Secretary. Saka palagay namin, kailangan may mga pagbabago na maganap na dito. Hindi na po pwede na business as usual at ganun pa rin yung ating mass public transport system. Importante yan sa atin at dapat hindi po yan pinapabayaan ng gobyerno.
Ako po ay sumasang-ayon sa inyo at sa ating kaibigan dito na marami po ang dapat na maging pagbabago para po mapaunlad at mapabuti po ang ating sektor ng transportasyon. At naniniwala rin po ako na dapat ay usisain po natin kung ano po ang mga nangyari at kung may dapat po na managot.
The DOTC officials have said that the MRT trains are not really that old. Other countries have in fact older trains, but ang nangyayari is we're wearing them down. We're wearing down these trains na nasa MRT faster than it should be worn down because nga of, I guess, overcapacity. Is this an accurate statement, you think, Director San Jose?
Ang operation po ng MRT natin ay nakabase po ito sa disenyo niya nung ito po yung ginawa. Ang lumalabas po ng mga datos natin na nagsasabi na 350,000 passengers per day ang pwede po niyang isakay. In fact, ito pong 350,000 passengers per day, ito po ay nakabase sa isang medyo komportableng sakay pa. Kasi po, ang nasasaad po sa BLT agreement na dapat po ang dinisenyo ng gumawa nito, dapat po kaya niyang magsakay ng 540,000 passengers sa bawat araw. Yan po ay nakakompute sa isang usapin na kinakailangan po ng umaabot sa 8 tao bawat metro kwadrado ng tren. So, ganun po yung itinatawag natin na crash load capacity. So, kung 65% po sa yan, ibig sabihin, medyo maluwag-luwag pa ng konti.
Kailangan balikan natin yung kontrata na pinasok dito sa MRT na binigyan ng guarantee yung profits, ng 15% na profits ng MRTC. Binigyan din ng gobyerno. Yung gobyerno nagbabayad ng tinatawag na equity rental payments all throughout the years dito. At sasagutin ng gobyerno yung utang. Neto, doon sa datos mismo ng DOTC, sinasabi, abot sa 52 billion ang atin nang naigastos dito sa MRT from 2000 to 2010. At 30 billion plus dyan ay napunta na doon sa kumpanya. Samantalang ang nilabas lang pala nilang pera dito, equivalent sa 7 billion pesos noong 1995, nung ginagawa nila yung proyekto. So, hindi lang po problematic yung BLT, onerous, lopsided, at napaka-paborable doon sa MRTC. At in fact, talo ang public at talo ang commuters dito.
Plano ng ating pamahalaan ay i-buyback po ito, yung tinatawag na equity value buyout, para po ito ay patuloy na maging wala ng problema yung gobyerno sa kung gusto nilang gawin para sa pag-improve po ng sistema. Yung pong sinabi po ng ating kaibigan na yung pong fare box ratio na ang kinikita po ng yung fare box, yung pasahe po sa tren ay tama naman po para sa pang-araw-araw niyang operasyon. Kaya lang po siguro alam po din naman natin na yung pang-araw-araw na operasyon, kinakailangan din pong may kakambal din yun na pondo rin na dapat ilaan po natin para po i-improve at kung bagaman lang mapalitan yung mga nagiging obsolete at luma ng mga kagamitan ng tren.
Secretary Abaya recently rode the MRT and said, he was quoted as saying he had a pleasant ride. Do you think, sir, do you think it's still a pleasant ride, itong MRT natin?
Ganito po yan. Ang pagsakay po sa MRT, definitely, kung depende po sa panahon, meaning kung rush hour, talaga pong magiging siksikan siya. Kasi sabi nga po natin, at alam naman po naman lahat na talaga pong ang sumasakay sa MRT ay napakarami na at sobra na po sa kapasidad dito. So kung sumakay po tayo ng medyo nasa off-peak naman po, ay medyo maluwag-luwag din po ang magiging sakay natin.
Sa palagay ko po, hindi na nakakatulong na kung magsalita pa yung ating DOTC Secretary at yung mga government officials natin, parang ang ganda-ganda ng MRT natin or parang walang kaproble-problema. Tumalon na nga na-derail na nga yung tren Ano pa ba yung kailangan nating pag-usapan doon? Ang unang kailangan gawin ni Secretary Abaya, tigilan niya yung pagpapapogi, tigilan niya yung pagkakampanya for President Aquino's term extension sa Kamaroas. Magbitiw siya sa pwesto. Take some responsibility at kailangan ng accountability. Mag-resign si Secretary Abaya at mahiya naman siya sa public.
Sir, anong position niyo with this debate question? Should Manila lift its truck ban?
Actually, that's the question. No? We are for that lifting of the truck ban in Manila. Not only Manila, but also in other cities in Metro Manila.
And it's really purely for your interest of the truckers
it's for the interest of the owners of the cargos that we carry.
My piece, it's not the truck ban that caused the congestion. It has been there even before the truck ban. So the lifting of the truck ban may be temporarily, but I think it will bring more good to the city of Manila than otherwise.
Is the truck ban a wise solution to decongest Manila traffic?
We have been saying all along, no, all through these years, whenever there is traffic, the first instance, they look at the trucks as the cause of...
Because you occupy, obviously, a big amount of the finite space on the road.
We have always been saying that the cause of the traffic are obstacles on the road.
As it is, Metro Manila is congested. The Philippines is losing $6 billion, 6 billion pesos a day.
Because of this congestion?
Because of the traffic congestion that is happening in Manila. Even the port of Manila is really congested even before the truck ban. For me, kaya nga nila ginawa yung Batangas port, the reason why we have the Subic port is really to decongest the containers in the city of Manila. Kaya lang ang naging problema natin, it remained a vision. 3% lang ang nagagamit sa Batangas port, sa Subic port 6%. If we decongest this, mas makakaginhawa for the city of Manila. 70% or 60 to 70% of the containers that lands in Manila are delivered to Calabarzon. Yung Calabarzon is much approximately nearer the Batangas port. If we will bring the containers to the Batangas port, it will lessen the traffic in Manila.
These three, Subic, Manila, and Batangas, you think eventually
they should be complementing each other.
If we complement them, do you think that will solve a lot of the problem?
Oh yes, of course.
Somehow.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Should that be something that should be strictly enforced? The spreading out of the
That's
containers?
exactly our point initially. We need to decongest the port of Manila. And we have available ports outside the city of Manila. And I think that's one of the solutions that we can attain.
Is that something that's being looked at seriously by the government or by the city of Manila, for example?
Well, as far as the city government is concerned, we can only think about it, but we cannot really implement it. It's the national government.
It's a PTA.
It's the national government has to implement.
Councilor Jercal, Christmas is coming. Will the truck ban, you think, worsen the situation?
I don't think so. I think we should really study carefully about not lifting the truck ban because as it is, during the Christmas season, there will be more influx of vehicles coming in and out of Manila. Especially we have the Divisoria area. So
Then there's
we
a
really
lot of
have
goods also coming in. No?
Yes, so our problem in the traffic congestion will not only be focused on the trucks, but also on the private cars. So having the trucks there and the private vehicles there, God only knows it would be. I don't want to imagine how chaotic it will be if it will.
That's right.
Really aggravate the traffic condition there.
I'm talking of backlogs that has been produced because of the moves that has been created earlier. The backlogs, there are two backlogs that we're talking about. The backlogs inside the port and also the backlogs for the shipments that was not able to arrive here in the Philippines, in Port of Manila. They're now staying in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Kaohsiung, in Keelung,
so double
Malaysia.
whammy.
That's double whammy.
Now, do you agree, Director Sonsing, that you think that it's time for President Aquino to step in and be involved in this truck ban issue?
Well, the issue has been raised into a national concern because of the effects that it created. Some jobs were lost, factories shut down because of lack of raw materials to process.
You think it's right, though, that he kind of intervenes and
yes, of course. It's time that presidential intervention should be there, because what we are trying to protect here is the economy. You know?
Yeah, on that point, on a larger scale, do you see any long-term effect of the truck ban, or do you think it's going to be better or worse, and or do you think that this is just a short-term problem?
It's going to be a long-term problem if we do not address it. If we do not address it.
In other words, if it continues on, you think it's a long-term problem?
If it continues on, then it's going to be a problem.
And
we do not want to escalate this to a crisis level. What we wanted to do is just, keep it down, meaning even lower than the national concern level.
Are we there? Are we there? Are we in the crisis mode?
No, we are not yet in the crisis level. We're trying to prevent that from happening. What we're trying to do is even lower it from the national concern level. No?
Yeah, but Councillor, ultimately, there is at some point you'd like to lift that truck ban, right?
Of course. If it doesn't, if we don't need the truck ban already, as I've said, trucks are welcome in the city of Manila as long as we will not. There will be decongestion of traffic in the city of Manila. We want trade also. We want to get our economy going also in the city of Manila.
We're taking a short break. Don't go away. When we come back, the newsmakers. Stay tuned. You're watching Opposing Views. Welcome back. This is Opposing Views. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. As expected, 2014 was filled with personalities that took the headlines. Both the former police chief Alan Purisima and Vice President Jejomar Binay were put to hot seats when questioned in their alleged hidden properties. Some cried witch hunting, while others look at it as combating corruption. Can you give us a summary of your position on this debate question? You think that the general should resign?
I'd like to remind him of what they call the Code of Honor, or the Honors Code, which I understand from recent newspaper clippings is now being reviewed because it doesn't seem to be working at all. It is a code that's good in paper, more honored in the breach than in the observance. What is the Code of Honor of the PMA?
Okay.
Ang sinasabi dyan, a PMAer shall not lie, shall not cheat, is honorable, and shall not, by inaction, allow other people to get away with it.
And on that basis, you think you should resign then?
And I think on that basis, regardless of the issue of guilt or innocence, on the issue on the basis of honor, because his honor is at stake, it behooves him.
I feel he should not resign because I feel that the threshold of evidence for him to have to resign is not there. and I respect what Attorney Kapunan has stated. However, again, if it were a frivolous accusation, would you resign? I mean, unless you reach a threshold of evidence that would really make your make your innocence doubtful, I don't think that you should just resign at a drop of a hat.
All right.
Otherwise, how could you do your job properly?
The issue here is, it is beyond him. It is now a president, and it is comes under the heading, they had a relation. He was the personal security guard of the Aquino family.
But if I may,
Congressman,
Rod,
yeah, go ahead.
it seems that all the hullabaloo is focused on two things now. One is the property in Nueva Ecija, and the other one is the White House in the police camp.
People are questioning the fact that he accepted these donations. These are supposed donations.
It's illegal per se.
Do you think that there's on face value, ma'am? You think that there's some irregularity there?
Let me just address these two issues. Now, first, it is not about the two issues. I live in Quezon City, just from my offices at the fort. From the time that I traveled from my office at the fort in Taguig to here, there are probably like 5 reports on crime. That is PNP. It is not his house, Congressman.
Yes, but
it is not his earnings.
I don't see.
It is the fact that I go out the studio, I am not safe in the street. It is a leadership issue.
I don't see
and
how.
he is not the leader. I'd like to trust my life and my family's life.
But my viewpoint differs from yours as far as that is concerned, because I know personally of a case where his leadership led to the resolution of the case and the successful return of a person, a loved one, who was taken. And the report to me was that General Purisima, I don't know if he was already a general then, but it was during my first term as congressman between 2001 and 2004, and handled himself exemplary in
10
an
years
exemplary
ago.
fashion.
And he did not know.
Congressman,
And he,
2001 and 2004.
Just a moment po. And then he, including his men, were very disciplined. The case was handled. My friend was trying to give them, something. They refused to accept. The case was handled. The loved one was recovered. And so I can understand how these people would feel a sense of gratitude because a life of a loved one was saved. How many people was General Purisima responsible for that kind of outcome because of good police work?
That ordinary citizens think that no one is in charge. When the radio commentators say, mag-ingat po kayo, wag po kayong maglalakad na nakagamit ng cellphone. I mean, wait a minute, why can't I even be safe walking the streets?
I don't think the minimum threshold of evidence for him to have to step down to ensure impartial.
When is that threshold? When the ombudsman already recommends the filing?
When there's clear, very irrefutable evidence that, hey, there's something wrong here.
Do you think that the president should relieve him? Given that it's obviously in the newspaper and all that.
The president is very loyal. The president is loyal to his friends, his KKK. So I don't think the president will do that.
But do you think he should?
That is why. If really Purisima, General Purisima, because what matters lang here naman is a clear conscience. If you have a clear conscience, what does it matter that you take a leave?
Yeah.
Take a leave.
Do you think he should take a leave?
For me, that's a tarnish on his record.
If he takes a leave?
Well, he's very close to retirement. He only has how many months? If he takes a leave now, it's tantamount to him giving up the completion of whatever it is he had set in motion to institute at PNP before he retires.
But do you think the president should nip it in the bud? He's causing too much. It's a cancer. It's growing. It's affecting the full organization.
Like I said when I came here, I don't know the president's basis for trust in PNP Chief Purisima. All I know is my personal basis for being here and testifying, bearing witness to the fact that when my friend needed competent police to help solve their personal problem, he was there for them. He produced, he was honest, he did not take any money. And this kind of people, I think, are those that are ready to contribute to him when they know he needs something, whether he asks for it or not.
I have the same experience, Congressman Mark.
Because of
He was there. He was there when we surrendered Napoles. He was there and ensured her security and safety. It is not about the person. It is the fact that
But it is about the person because it is about the person.
If you're talking about his retirement, the president can transfer him, make him anyway. The president is so minded to create 2 secretaries anyway. Why doesn't he appoint Purisima, General Purisima, as the 2nd secretary of local government? He can be transferred to any. If you're talking about retirement.
But he is a policeman.
That's why Undersecretary for Defense or something. I'm saying that if we're talking about retirement benefits and tarnishing his honor, if you are President of the Republic or if you're the leader of this country, there is a way to balance private interests.
Kong Lito, regarding this question, do you think all these allegations going on against VP Binay, do you think they're politically motivated?
Very obvious. Very obvious. Klarong-klaro yan. Ito'y bahagi ng political season that has started towards 2016. Kaya tingnan natin yun from that perspective para appreciated natin lahat ng mga pinag-uusapan at lahat ng sinasabi.
Itong ginagawang investigasyon, I'm sure merong motives diyan, ano? Pero siguro mas mahalagang tanong, is it serving the public good? Yung nakikita natin, itong mga katiwalian na nangyari, palagay ko, yun ang mas mahalagang pag-usapan.
Some are asking, why investigate VP Binay and why now? Is there something about the timing? Kong Lito, you first.
Sinabi ko nga, very clear, very obvious. They're hitting at the front runner in the coming 2016 elections. So, lahat ito ang purpose ito talagang dumihan at kung pwede, sirain ang magandang pangalan ng ating Vice Presidente para makahabol sila. Dahil ang layo
Ito ba obvious lang because of the timing? Because it's 2 years before 2016?
By
or
the timing,
is it by pure coincidence?
By the timing and by the mode that they're doing it. Alam mo, meron tayong mga institusyon ng hustisya. Andiyan ang ombudsman, andiyan ang Sandigan Bayan, andiyan ang mga korte na kung talagang sasabihin natin nagkukulang ang isang public official, pagsakdal natin sa ombudsman. And the case of Vice President Binay has already been filed in the ombudsman. So itong nangyayari sa Senado ngayon, ano ito? This is a circus, this is a sideshow whose only purpose is to really bring the matter to public consciousness para masira ang pangalan ng ating Vice Presidente.
Alam mo, kung wala naman siya talagang itatago, this is the best opportunity to clear his name. Humarap siya ron. Kung ano man yung kanyang mga arguments para malinis yung pangalan niya, iyon ang pinakamagandang venue. But let me just add dun sa sinabi ni Congressman. I agree with you, Kong, na meron tayong mga institusyon na dapat nag-handle nito. Alam mo, ganyan din ang paniwala ko nung araw. Itong mga investigations na to, sometimes, parang nagiging political circus. But it serves a good purpose. Kasi kung titingnan mo, yung ating justice system, napakabagal Halimbawa, itong PDAF, kung hindi inimbestigahan niya ng Senate, hindi ganyan kabilis yung makakarating yan sa ombudsman. At hindi makikita ng tao.
It accelerated the process.
Yung proseso natin sa ombudsman, 10 years, 15 years, wala pa rin nangyayari. So for the good of the public, especially those who are aspiring for the highest office of the land, mahalagang makita ng tao.
Kong, what do you say to that? What do you...
Sinabi ni Yusek, no? You were a Yusek in government. Na mabagal, may diferensya, and that is an indictment of the system itself, no? But just because mabagal, sisirain na natin ang ating constitutional bodies na talagang inaasahan natin gumana. The task and the challenge should be to work it out so that gumana ng maayos ang ombudsman, gumana ng maayos ang ating sandigan bayan, and justice is served and the rule of law is preserved.
But kung dito habang wala pa, let's say we don't have that yet, that fast process.
Umasa tayo, hindi tayo nagtitiwala. Mapanganib yun. Pag sinabi mo hindi ka nagtitiwala, hindi ka nagtitiwala sa Korte Suprema, hindi tama ang mangyayari sa ating demokrasya.
Pero in what
sinasabi ko, yung nangyayari sa Senado ngayon, it would be very simplistic to say, dapat umattend. Ikaw ba attend Yusek kung ganyan ang takbo ng usapan, ng taltalan? Tinatawag kang magnanakaw, tinatawag kang mamamatay tao, haharap ka rin sa grupong gumagawa nun.
Ako po, kung wala akong tinatago, haharap ako rin para talagang ipakita ko na.
Bakit kayo nag-resign nung kayo ay tinatalakay doon sa inyong ginawang kampanya sa DOT noon? Meron kayong ginawang kampanya na kini-question ng COA na binayaran ninyo, yung pala kinuha lamang sa isang ongoing campaign sa Poland.
But let's
you gave up. You gave up.
At what instance can the Senate have a probe then?
No, the Senate and Congress are both institutions that are mandated to even inquire in aid of legislation.
Yes.
But not to start pointing at people's faces and to call them crooks and corrupt and all this. Yun ang hindi ko matanggap. Dahil yan, hindi magbubunga ng tama para sa atin. Hindi nga magbubunga yan ng legislation. Magbubunga yan sa paninira lang na hindi maganda para sa bayan.
It is within the prerogative of the Senate to do an investigation in the aid of legislation. Nandyan yung provision na yan. Kung ayaw niyong gawin yan, tanggalin natin yan.
Yeah, we should remove that.
For as long as it is there, and to me, it serves a good purpose because it exposes a lot of things to the people na kung dadaan natin sa ating justice system, hindi mawawala yung pagkakataon ng taong bayan para makita yung mga katotohanan.
I disagree with that because no matter how defective the system, we have to abide by it. What you did when you were in office is what is being pursued na sinasabi niyo. Kailangan humarap ka. Harap ka kung alam mo namang hindi tama ang magiging investigasyon.
Wala namang kaso sa akin.
Sinabi mo kasi, and I cannot take it, na dapat humarap siya. Bakit dapat? Dahil sinabi mo. Ikaw, hindi ka humarap eh.
Humarap ako. Kaya nga ako nag-resign eh.
Nag-resign.
Wala po akong kaso ng COVID.
Dahil pag hindi ka nag-resign, sasabit ka.
And that's our opposing views tonight. Here's to bolder and more engaging discussions on today's most relevant issues. I'm Rod Nepomuceno. Happy New Year, good night, and God bless.